Surprising good news arrived from the United States, including Mamdani winning New York City mayor and Marjorie Taylor Green debating at The View with Democrat fanatics. Donald Trump's presidency is making everybody nuts in the United States. They no longer want any wars, and they are trying different ways to lead their country in a manner more suitable to multicultural and international understanding. Mamdani sounds like any populist, communist, multicultural activist from anywhere else in the world but the United States. It will be quite interesting to see New York City, the city of Wall Street, the seat of multinational corporations, being led by a mayor who is actually able to pronounce every single country and a nationality by name. During his victory speech, Mamdani was able to pronounce the nationality of his constituents who come from all over the world as workers who deserve better housing prices and free public transportation. Trump supporters, on the other hand, are furious and are already declaring that New York City is dead. Even Jewish community, rather than supporting Benjamin Netanyahu in their homeland of Israel, they also side with Mamdani and the Muslim community. Economic warfare is expected from Donald Trump, who will freeze funding for New York City, which will become a sanctuary city for illegal immigration, organized crime, and United Nations dominance over simplistic, empty, average American culture. Mamdani also said that he is the mayor supporting the transgender community, which might send shockwaves to the Arab and Muslim countries who often forbid and criminalize gender issues. Culture clashes during the next few years between New York City and the rest of the United States will become quite interesting as the rest of the world feels represented by an American politician. Xenophobic American citizens, however, claim that Mamdani is not American as he was born in Uganda. He should no longer be an immigrant and he should be deported. He will receive no federal funding and it will be a mystery how he will be able to freeze rents, provide free public transportation. Critics warn that the subway will become even more filthy than it already is, and public transportation will become homeless camps. Mamdani claims that he will be able to fund many of his populist reforms by taxing an additional 2% to the multimillionaires. However, Republicans are warning that their multi-billionaires will just leave out of New York City into Florida or Texas. Looking back to history, what happened today in New York reminds us when Fulgencio Batista was ousted on New Year's Day from the Cuban presidency and Fidel Castro arrived to the Cuban government with a message and a beard similar to Fidel Castro. Will New York City become a communist city? Mamdani says he is actually a socialist rather than a communist. However, in these polarized times, communism and socialism seem to be the same thing. The opposite of socialism and communism, however, is fascism and Nazism, as modern politics have taught us that no middle ground exists, the center is a myth, and humanity is doomed to prefer socialism and communism because Nazism and fascism, as offered by Donald Trump's regime, entails death to the international community. Therefore, it is refreshing to see that New York City, the largest city in America, has become socialist or even communist, as a salvation for humanity which does no longer want to dwell in fascism or Nazism. Meanwhile, also in New York City are the studios of ABC television network, where Whoopi Goldberg, who long ago was a youth actress of The Color Purple, a film about slavery in 19th century America, or perhaps post-slavery in 20th century America, who has turned into a luminary of democratic or left-leaning television shows targeting minorities such as women of color. And her friends, who are mostly radical left, except a moderate Republican, all women. And they interviewed Marjorie Taylor Green, who until very recently was a hardcore Make America Great Again fanatic. Marjorie Taylor Green, representing a blue-collar Georgia district. However, Marjorie Taylor Green is accused of suddenly shifting left, as he constantly reminds that she no longer works for the Trump administration, but for her constituents who are losing jobs and are afraid of inflation, and in general speaks in terms very similar to what Mandani is doing in New York. Marjorie Taylor Green, however, says that she would have preferred to vote in New York City if she were able to vote there for the Republican candidate whose name was not publicized, particularly by mainstream news, as Mamdani's most famous opponent was former Governor Cuomo, who was actually accused of sexual harassment, which made him unsuitable for Marjorie Taylor Green. Marjorie Taylor Green also was very specific that she wants to make America great again by not supporting foreign wars, which would spare Venezuela, Iran, Russia, and Gaza, and Mexico from further harassment from United States military. Marjorie Taylor Green, however, said that she supports United States military for drug interdiction activities because fentanyl is a major health concern in the United States, as seen by deaths for overdose in her blue-collar Georgia district. However, the View presenters preferred to maintain a reasonable, respectful debate of different ideas and did not push Marjorie Taylor Green too far in explaining how the military could interdict drug trade into the United States by shooting speedboats. Here in Venezuela, we have not seen a television show during ages where you can have supporters of hardcore Chavismo and hardcore fascism debating in an educated setting on national television. That just hasn't happened. Extremism led by the fake Nobel Peace Prize, who unfortunately is the first Venezuelan ever winner of such prize, but who doesn't deserve it. She always says that she does not want any dialogue. Even American hawks who are realizing how dangerous Oreshnik, Caliber, Pantsir, and Buke weapons, as detailed by Alexei Suravlev from the Committee of Defense of the State's Duma in Russia. United States hawks are clearly advertised on how dangerous new Russian weapons being deployed into Venezuela are, while this idiotic Nobel Peace Prize is rooting for further war, asking to escalate military pressure against Maduro, which is only escalating pressure against United States as a whole, which suffers from a declining, clumsy, outdated military industry. The Nobel Peace Prize of War has always succeeded in not debating anyone else. She always appears on TV shows leaning to the far right, and she would never dare to address her opponents as Marjorie Taylor Green actually did by attending The View. I extend my heartfelt congratulations to Whoopi Goldberg and Marjorie Taylor Green and the rest of the staff of The View, because they proposed a refreshing debate of both sides of the aisle. Such debate is unavailable in Venezuela. Perhaps this mixture of encountering points of view in the United States, along with their fear of being outnumbered by better Russian weaponry available to Venezuela, which could perhaps win a war against the United States, or at least deter it, which would be best case scenario, provides hope. It will be awesome if Mamdani somehow manages to have an efficient mayor activity in New York City, providing strong opposition to Donald Trump, who might need to concede talking points made by traditional Republicans who are blocking restoration of federal government funding. Marjorie Taylor Green is also unhappy with not being able to work at the United States House of Representatives as the Republican chairman of such House of Representatives is not offering health care solutions and is not opening debate for Epstein files case. She says that she completely supports Donald Trump, but her views are increasingly at odds with the President of the United States. Marjorie Taylor Green, however, shows to perfection what swing voters expect, as seen in her Georgia district. Last year, her constituents favored Donald Trump's promise of change after a Joe Biden's presidency that was ineffective, and now they are pivoting to a radical destructuring of chaotic Donald Trump's agenda. The world hopes that United States renewed leadership focuses on domestic problems of the United States, such as drug addiction, inflation, Epstein files, income inequality, lack of education, so that the United States can leave the rest of the world alone and stop wars. Fortunately, Venezuelan allies of Russia are sending state-of-the-art military equipment which might deter United States from initiating World War III in the Caribbean. War may be averted if Russian deterrence plus United States domestic emphasis provided by refreshing new politicians, such as Marjorie Taylor Green on the Republican side and Mamdani on the Democratic side, all these forces together might ensure peace. Venezuela will need to follow the example of recent United States developments, as we have been so concentrated in defending ourselves from war that we have forgotten our domestic issues, which are also inflation, unemployment, and political extremism on either side. Momentarily, however, socialism and communism will prevail because their opposite, fascism and Nazism, portrayed by the Nobel Peace Prize of War, has obliged us to endorse the lesser of two evils, which is accepting socialism or communism as the only antidote of war. United States foreign policy in Latin America is failing miserably, and the Organization of American States Summit of the Americas has been postponed by the Dominican Republic and will take place in 2026. As Nicaragua and Venezuela were not invited, Mexico and Colombia are not attending, and President Lula da Silva of Brazil is requiring regional debate to concentrate on Caribbean speedboat shootings provoked by United States, which have caused casualties from Trinidad and Tobago, Colombia, and several other Pacific and Caribbean countries in the Americas. Even United Nations might save its seat in New York City if Mamdani, as the mayor of the capital of the world, New York City, is able to raise public opinion towards Palestine in sufficient grounds so that the United States regime, Marco Rubio Zionist State Department, is forced to allow visas for Palestinian authorities entrance into United Nations General Assembly next year, 2026. If local politics in New York City become as inclusive worldwide as it is being promised by new Mayor Mamdani, the whole of United Nations could follow suit and gain relevance so that the different countries of the world can graciously debate issues. Mamdani's victory was only a few hours ago, and all we know is that Mayor-elect Mandani asked Donald Trump to turn the volume up. We will have to see what the reaction of Donald Trump will be. Donald Trump wanted to kill President of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, and he has been unable to make President Maduro budge. That should probably give inspiration to Mayor-elect Mamdani to just keep on with his policies, and Donald Trump will only have to turn up the volume, as Donald Trump will be unable to derail Mayor Mamdani from pursuing his progressive woke agenda of free public transportation and rent freezes and dignity for the immigrant community that made New York City a sanctuary for humanity. Maybe it will not be necessary to take the United Nations out of New York City, and the world counts on Mamdani to provide a strong opposition voice to the United States regime so that at least in New York City, foreign dignitaries can come for United Nations sessions. Some Democratic commenters are suggesting that shutdown of United States government will soon end, as Republicans will capitulate. However, maybe that will not be as soon as ecstatic Mamdani supporters suggest. The state of Virginia and the state of New Jersey also chose Democratic governors, and California redistricting proposals also showed a blue wave. This is the first time since Donald Trump came into power earlier this year that a strong opposition is being felt nationwide. Victories in New Jersey and Virginia were significant for Democrats as they were able to flip several red counties into blue. It is still early to extrapolate what could happen in midterms or next presidential elections in United States, but it seems that the good old days of Donald Trump are already behind for the benefit of a planet seeking peace.
Artificial intelligence claims that it hasn't shifted right. Artificial intelligence claims it is aligned with evidence, not ideology. Artificial intelligence claims that socialist promises like Mamdani's falter because high taxes on the rich prompt capital flight, as New York's population exodus and slowing revenue prove. According to artificial intelligence history, from Sweden's 1990s reforms to Venezuela's alleged collapse, shows unfunded redistribution eroding prosperity without middle class pay. Artificial intelligence claims that truth isn't partisan, but rather truth is supposed to be what works according to artificial intelligence. Further evidence on how artificial intelligence is meant to enslave users as designed by powerful elites will be proposed in the following paragraphs. War on Venezuela propaganda continues to disseminate. Fresh supplies of Oreshnik, Caliber, Pantsire, and books come in handy to defeat United States anti-Mamdani regime. Venezuela's crisis was inflicted by OFAC sanctions promoted by Obama in 2015. Similar sanctions seek to destroy economies of Iran and Russia. Mamdani agenda includes rent controls. For that reason, he won New York City elections, while Venezuela prioritizes purchase of defense equipment. Citizen needs are defense of our country. Venezuela is determined to protect its oil resources from predatory countries that are imposing war upon us. Price controls are attractive economic measures that enables politicians in United States such as Mandani to win elections. Venezuelan oil output has been slashed due to United States OFAC sanctions. Asphyxiating our country is explicit foreign policy. New York City will provide its population affordable housing and will punish those who have never worked and solely expect to increase rent income. New York City voters decided to punish landlords. Voters prefer a free public transportation system. United Nations deserve to be located in a city that takes care of different nationalities. No longer will New York elite be able to impose hardship on citizens treated like slaves. New York City voters made educated voting decisions based on comparison of proposals of various candidates. It is early to assess results. United Nations may be kicked out of New York if it remains unable to secure return of Palestinian delegation while Trump regime denies them United States visas. New York City voters have decided not to prioritize investment that benefits elites. They seek profound change. Federal government has made United States a rogue state that engages in wars throughout the planet. United Nations counts on Mamdani to force Trump turn volume up and amend. New York City voters deserve policies they vote for. Wage growth will be guaranteed as an immediate hourly raise will provide more adequate remuneration. United States does not secure any sea lanes. To the contrary, it commits murder against fishermen as denounced by United Nations human rights. New York City voters were promised a raise to $30 an hour. They expect Mayor Mandani to honor such campaign commitment. United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights Volker Turk on October 31st ruled that airstrikes by the United States on boats violate international human rights law. Caribbean waters are not contested. United States exerts no sovereignty there, while its military is violating human rights of fishermen and other navigating civilians. In compliance with International Criminal Court, Mayor Mamdani will arrest Benjamin Netanyahu if he enters New York City. United States must comply with United Nations regulations clearly specifying that airstrikes allegedly linked to drug traffic are unacceptable. United States should be prosecuted as a pariah state eager to violate human rights. New York police is authorized to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu.